Politics, Economics, Ecology of Community, Part 2, Day 14. That sun's going down. I don't know if I have enough for another whole 15 minutes. And I just want to wind it down. And we're trying to get to some people working together with coherent projects. The first step is to inventory what's already out there that lines up with some of these principles. Oh, it's a lot of first steps. You're coming at it from different angles all at the same time. And a lot of people are doing this already. There's a lot going on. So a lot of progress can be made just networking and organizing and more intelligent organizing, self-organizing, like allowing for intelligent connections between what's already going on by way of community, intentional communities, all the new health industries, all kinds of self-help, all these retreats. And you could add to a bunch of that things that aren't necessarily for profit, but would bring community back and just getting people off the internet and starting meeting each other, which brings like less of a reason to spend on stupid shit and have more sense of what's meaningful and maybe pick careers more intelligently and be more self-sufficient in a lot of different ways. Community is what you need for self-sufficiency. You can't do it by yourself. You can try, but you're gonna, especially in this world the way as it is, that's not gonna last unless there others are taking care of themselves as community. You might be able to then be an outlier and be more or less by yourself. We made that pitch to the Libertarian Party when I was Green Party co-chair in 95, 97 and I did a Libertarian Green Caucus. Invited the libertarians that were willing to talk to us, mostly the Stoner Caucus of both sides. Trying to relax, you guys. You guys are both freaking out. Both radical Greens and radical libertarians are kind of like hard, a little bit too ideological. Things just, they work a certain way. And that's where the whole neighborhood party came up as a project where this is what the Greens are suggesting that libertarians need. This is how we can work together. Because if you want to have sovereignty as as an individual, you need to know where your community of resource. You don't actually need a community of meaning, I suppose, but definitely a resource. And so we thought that the neighborhood party would be a common ground between the grassroots side of libertarian and the proactive grassroots side of libertarian. Libertarians aren't about government. The Greens are, and so that would be the Libertarian Greens, where we could work on communities, on environmental communities. But now we're talking about you need to do that as more or less libertarian socialists, and get communities back into the of ownership and responsibility and meaning, because we need to bring back our whole use of resources. And I was saying externalities include how you treat your employees, because that contributes to the like ill will, ill health. And it's just to see this is back to like, yeah, you want to put it all in reductionist terms, but that's just for the people in the back room. In real life, most of us are dealing with it out here, except for all this everybody on the internet now. So okay, um, contextualize the idea that you're going to be out there more, and it doesn't necessarily need to make money, but this is closer to the meaning of life. And this starts to create a movement that, as long as it's just a consumer movement, it doesn't go very far. It has to be backed up by real, alternatives in the economy. And it's a paradigm shift that all current businesses could adapt to and don't all have to adapt to them. I could, and again, I've made the point, it needs to happen faster than politics can move. Politics is an us versus them game, and it incentivizes a bunch of backstabby weirdness among the bureaucrats. I mean, because the whole system is about backstabby weirdness. We're trying to survive. We're not sure where our next, any of us. You start bringing it back to context of community, but you do it so that your job, that's what your job is. And I wanted to just assure the venture capital class that want to think of themselves as the boss. It's like there's no, if we're doing this in the free market as new ventures, and you invest in a piece of grounded resource and the goodwill of the community instead of like a pile of cash, you don't know where you're going to spend it. But this is negotiable. The whole thing is about That's why it's not a government. If you did it top down with a government, it would be annoying bureaucrats and trying to enforce it with armies, I guess, and police. And all of a sudden, you got us versus them all up and down. And the left can't see it any other way. I tell you, I'm more lefty than all of you guys on the left. I'm a utopian. I'm saying we can make it work for everybody. But for that, you got to respect everything the whole right wing critique of the left is totally right on, except for when they get silly about, come on, yeah, you think global warming is a hoax to try to push green agenda. The thing about the green agenda is the left response. That's part, yeah, no, that's incorrect. It's a government top down, scientific instead of meaningful, grounded. Now the left is the one that's saying we got to possibly change some of our ways, and the right says no, we're good this way. Well, okay, since they can't talk to each other, we can't be intelligent about that. Look, to keep going the way we're going, to really hold families together, we need to bring community back at a meaningful level of integrity. We have local governments, but nobody goes there, and because it's meaningless. But if you had networks of local businesses that people were part co-op owners, or that's where you want to put your if you want to just buy stock and put it that way. But the point is, then you've got credit in a resource base. You keep it flexible. This is my point. Um, you do this on the ground. I'm saying this is more radical than all of you lefties pointing at the oil companies, making them think, yeah, what are you going to do? You're not thinking it through. You want to just stop the oil and then what? Cause riots in the streets and everybody gets locked down because everything fucking breaks down. Excuse me. That was New York. I get two more of those. Sorry. So, yeah, it's time to I'm going to put this out, but it's going to be also an essay, and we're going to try to find people to pull it together. And you have a social media awareness project. I've seen it as a matrix of 17 by 18. Could be different projects. It could be different methods or different, entire topics. It starts obviously food, health, agriculture is a million right there, and then you get to housing, and then other things that people are into, sports, a million. I think that's simple to think 17 by 18. That's how I saw it in Dream Vision. That it was at least that complex for one company. Back in '75, one company trying to take care of as if they can start Utopiaville in a valley that's undisturbed and had all the proper basic resources. They had to invite 16 other corporations. That was the vision I had about that. In 2013, to approach it as independent networks, independent uh, single projects, 45 tribes got together. We were regular people tribes in the context of the modern world, community-based organizations of some kind. And the others met and said, war footing. We better get serious about this, kids, because this thing's getting serious. We got to get on it every day. There's no Sundays, or yeah, Sundays, but make them constructive. Meditate and then say a prayer. And 18 frontline tribes to assault the karma of the situation. And it's now. You want to see how strange it was? 2018 rolled around on January 1st, and my friend who's still in the front house says, "What? Uh, what time is it, Mike?" And I said, "Hey, it's 11 a.m. And by the way, it's the year zero." And that came from my higher self. I said, "What?" I looked around. Who said that? Yeah, that's how weird I am. I got crazier stories. I'm a planet healer. But the year zero in 2018, and I thought of it immediately. This is a 10-year countdown of what I think I can do, and that runs out in 2028. So it's about creating models of the alternative and visualizing it. You maybe only need to start well, you can do it all simultaneous. Again, as I say, 18 different approaches. And I want to just say, hey, man, everything anybody can find here. I'm not trying to pitch a podcast. I'm trying to get people to work together. I'm trying to give away as much as possible. But hey, I could use some help. Somebody wants to help me do a GoFundMe on some of this. We need a website, or just somebody with resources come help me do this. We need a website, different ways to outreach. I helped start the Green Party in the 90s, not start. I helped get us up to national craziness for a minute. So I've had some skills about doing that, flyers and street presence, and approaching college kids to get like clubs happening and people meeting. And you don't want to start new. Maybe you do want to start the neighborhood party unlimited as a real party. But the fantasy is that that's what we do on the art planets when galactic feds come around trying to get us to register our governments. Like we don't have governments, give us something because we're that cool. We don't need government. All right, we're the neighborhood party unlimited. What else do you need to know? Yeah, what that means is we know how to take care of each other as community, and we have respect for each other's perspectives, and we understand the synergy of working together in holisms. The whole. A family is not a whole. A family is part of a community, could be a whole. Now, again, but on the other hand, from the left side, a community without families is also not a whole. A family without each individual being like a whole, it's embedded holographies. That was with the H. That's Rupert Sheldrake's vision. He's the 100th monkey guy that says there's a collective intelligence that gets put into the vibrational field that we can all access. This is where science just starts describing the way spirit works, and they can freaking measure it. They can measure it. They can measure how you can affect a randomizer machine. And if you're in a room that you love that you and your loved one with that sweet energy, it gets quadrupled effective. And this is what the spirit people are saying, the healing power of love. And that's what the Christians are saying. And that's what the progressive left is wanting for everyone, but then they get scientific. Is love a real thing? Fuck you. That was two. I don't want to use up the last one. New York. Okay, so we're in a place to calmly do this, and I want to stop the finger point. Right now, the elites are doing what they need to. If things are going to crash, they need to hide, uh, or find ways to like soften the blow of what looks like a decline. Yeah, but the decline happens if we keep leaving this whole thing run away without any sense of responsibility, and everything's on overdrive. And and everybody's too afraid about not making enough money. Well, the way to do that intelligently and scale it back is what I'm suggesting. We can start shifting to really grounding the resource space. Nobody loses anything. You can start I'm talking about monopolies, even the big food monopolies, the big farm monopolies. Rather than have it be a contest, understand what people are trying to do, and you work together, and it's much smoother, and it's not us versus them. You can have a free market without us versus them. You can have a free market that allows for creative cooperation. And you can have businesses that, don't have to go to co-op ownership. Whatever you know what I mean? Because you got all kind of weird stuff out there that right now, pawn shops, whatever. But money will start shifting what it means. It doesn't have to go away though. You have credit, keep it above board. And this is why the right wants to say people need to be responsible to all their thing. We can't just give shit away. It's like, yeah, that's right. But on the other hand, you do it right, and people will have enough. It'll be organically enough. And a lot of people's safe zone. People need safety zones. It's the left and right critiquing each other, but they're not coming together on what could really heal all these things, which is a sense of community, both economically, socially, culturally. It contextualizes people wanting to be important and having somewhere to show all their art so they don't need to make a whole lot of money and all that. And then, but there's work that needs to be done. You get to what that really is, and you get to the meaningful stuff. It's the crucial stuff that needs to be, as I say, community based to contextualize it right. And a lot of things could just go on until whatever they want to adapt as far as that goes. And that's not up to anybody. I say politics becomes less and less oppressive and more connected to the real, and you still need it for global arrangements, but those don't make sense unless you have a grounding in personal, local empowerment. You don't want to be afraid of authorities like they're somebody else. You don't want to be afraid of your leaders or the police like they're a different, like they're invading you or they're not you. They're you. This is part of your little cool little tribe. Be impressed that they're so efficient and not, everybody's on each other's side when we see it right and contextualize it that way. And there's a certain thing about scale, but at this point we can be so accountable at such a minute level. But if we know that who's really dealing with that is communities we can trust, then the fear goes away from observer state, and the fear goes away from accountability. And you get to a place where you naturally don't have criminals or people stealing because they've got enough in the context of there is enough, and they've done the work and they're responsible, and communities take care of their own. And so you don't need and you work that out on the ground, and somehow the current global geopolitical thing looks like it's settling into a uh, peace, which is the only way it can be a peace. Please stop this Ukraine war. Trump and Putin have to are working together to make it right. Russia has to hold up the third leg of a three-sided détente. Otherwise, it's us versus China, and that's a war. Or one of us takes over, and that's fascism. In three ways, we can survive all three.